Hello, welcome to Steph's World. Love and Light, Truth 11. You know, I kept thinking all this week that I had to do this video today or soon. Actually, I wasn't going to do it today. 3 years ago today, I buried my son, Matthew Norris Miller. Matthew was a name that his father liked, and even though at the time that I gave birth to Matthew, I always knew that his father liked that name, so I named him that, and I'm glad I did. It was such a good name for him. And the Norris, that's my grandmother's last name. She was Irish, real Irish. She still had people in Ireland, in fact. And so Matt had quite a combination in him. But anyway, he's at peace now. Now, before I talk about what I plan to talk about, I want to talk about my son a little bit, because I need to. Last night I woke up several times during the night in severe pain. Now, the pain part is not unusual, trust me. My body is in a tremendous amount of pain. My bones, my back is crushed, my lower back. They tried. It just didn't work, I guess it just wasn't in the plans. I just went to my doctor on Monday, and he said, Steph, I don't know how you do it. That's exactly what he said. I don't know how you do it. What little amount you can walk, you force yourself, and you do that, no matter what it takes. And if you have to be in a wheelchair, you're willing to do that. But he felt it was quite amazing that I could live in a home by myself. But I have friends. I have neighbors that watch over me. They all know that I am not that well. When I moved down here, the first time an ambulance came to my door, my driveway, all my neighbors came running out. Almost every one of them. They were so concerned. They had not seen anything like this happen before. So it was brand new to them. And it was not new to me, but it was brand new to them. And even today, I haven't had one in a long time, and I'm very grateful for that. I try not to have them. I don't want to go to the hospital. There is no reason for me to go unless I am dying. And even then, when it is my time, it is my time. I made that decision a long time ago. Well, let's get back to Matt. I bet you're wondering, you know, a lot of people say about their loved ones, they're at peace today. Well, I'm not one of those people. I'm not one of those people at all. And so I'm sure that if I'm not one of those people, you might be saying, well, how would she know that her child is at peace? Well, I'm going to tell you. Now, you can believe it or not. That's up to you. But it is the truth. I swear to you, it is the truth. And I don't lie. I might not be perfect, I'll tell you that right now, but I don't lie. Especially not about this. And I even wrote about a little bit of it in my blog that I wrote about my hero, my son, my hero. The evening or night that Matt, we called him Matt, everybody called him Matt. The evening or night that Matt, who was in the Army, and he was 34, and he had been injured very seriously in Afghanistan in his helicopter crash. Matt was responsible for everybody in the helicopter. The people that did the medical people, the people that flew it, everybody. I mean, that's what his duties were as Master Sergeant. And everybody loved him. He was so kind-hearted. He knew how to do a lot of the medical stuff. He watched them and he was taught too a little bit about that. But anyway, they didn't just take care of people in the Army. They took care of anybody, anyone, an Afghanistan person, anyone. My son would never let anyone suffer. He would try his darndest to make sure that they were taken care of. He had a mother that was terribly sick at home, so he knew what it meant to suffer, and he had seen some terrible things already. Well, anyway, they went on night ops, and the helicopter came down, and somehow everybody in the helicopter got out safely, but my son was probably making sure that everybody got out safely, but something happened, and the helicopter must have turned or something, but he landed underneath it. And in his the Army's version of his burial service, they talk about how Matt told his colonel how he thought that it was his time, because I guess the blades were still spinning and they were really close to his legs. Matt was a big boy, and they called him Moose. They called him Moose. That doesn't bother me a bit, because they did it out of love. He was so tall, and he was kind of big. He did not take after my side of the family when it came to that. That was the Miller side that he took after. Well, anyway, the night that Matt passed, oh, he had been back in the States for about a year after that accident. I just want to mention that. I want to mention it because it's important. In our family, we have blood clots, and we have them pretty darn bad. I've had one in my brain, and it ruptured. It was called I can't think of it right now. I'm just a little upset today. And I'll explain that in a minute. But anyway, the blood clots run in our family. I have 2 grandparents on my maternal side that both died the very same year from blood clots. My mother had blood clots, and I had blood clots. And Matt had a terrible blood clot from that accident, really bad. They couldn't move him for at least a month from Afghanistan to go to Germany. Well, they finally did. And then they moved him from Germany to the United States. And he was in the medical facility by Fort Bragg, and that was where he was at. Well, anyway, they finally released him, and the worst of things that could have happened happened. As he was coming out of work, right after they let him go back to work, he had taken a vacation to see his father and his father's family. The timing was perfect, really, that he was able to say goodbye to them. Well, as he was leaving work, about a week later, a man who had stolen a truck was drunk, and he crashed into my son's vehicle. And he died instantly, but not my son. My son was an amazing man. He really was. But he lived for a few weeks, maybe a month, and then one night in his apartment after work, he had just gotten off the phone with his ex-girlfriend, and we believe that pretty shortly after that, he died. When he was found the next day, he was in his army fatigues from the day before. Well, that night that he passed away, I had no knowledge of it. No one came yet. They didn't even know about it. But I was in bed, and it was probably around 10:30 at night. And all of a sudden, it felt like a heavy human being was on top of me, just squeezing me so hard I couldn't even breathe. And it went on for at least an hour. And I thought, maybe I'm having a heart attack. I was about ready to grab the phone and call an ambulance, but then it stopped. The next day, the 2 Army women chaplains came to my home and told me my son had passed away. That was on January 28th. It took a long time between his death and his burial, which makes it really tough for a parent. A lot of things happened that I was unable to participate in because of my health. So I couldn't do anything. I just had to accept it. And, you know, I have a lot of people that care about me. And I have one that just texted me just now. They check on me to make sure that I haven't died or anything or fallen. I do fall. Oh, yes. Anyway, I fell. When I saw him, I knew, but when they came in and they actually said the words, I fell. But they caught me. They were ready for me. And each one sat on the side of me as I called everybody in my family. His father, his sister, his half-brother, my mother, my father. They were together. And my friends that knew Matt. And anybody that could contact his other friends. And Matt had a huge amount of friends, believe me. But anyway, everybody fell apart. Everybody did. You know, when your child joins the Army, you know in your heart that they could be taken. But for some reason, we were just shocked that Matt was gone because we thought he had made it through all that stuff. We really did. Well, then something else happened. You may not think that my son came to squeeze me and say goodbye, but I know he did. I know he did. That was my baby boy saying goodbye to his mother. And then a year later, a year and a half later, no, it wasn't even a year later. It was the following Christmas, so it was almost a year. I was on the phone with my daughter, and I was telling her that I was sending her extra money for Christmas to take care of Matt's dog, who he loved so much, Eleonora. If I could have handled her, I would have taken her, but I couldn't. So one of the girls became Eleonora's new dog person. I know in my heart that Eleonora still waits for Matt to come home. I know she does. She loved Matt so much. But anyway, during that phone call, something very strange happened. I was on my regular phone, and my daughter was on her cell phone. My daughter never has trouble with her cell phone. Her husband works at AT&T. She has the best cell phones in the world, believe me, and the best connections. But anyway, all of a sudden, we were both crying. When I told her I was going to send extra money, we were crying. And all of a sudden, our connection went out. And I kept saying, Rachel, 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 Rachel. And it lasted for at least 5 minutes. I couldn't get a sound out of her. But the phone sound was changing, and it was a sound like I never heard in my life. I can tell you that. Not in this world. It was an amazing sound. I've heard it before. But I wrote about it, but nobody really read it. But I have heard it. And I knew. And 8 minutes to 9 minutes later, I heard, oh, Mom, oh, Mom. And it was Matt. It was Matt. And I started crying. I called my daughter back. And she said, what happened? And I said, you're not going to believe this, but I'm going to tell it to you. And I told her. And I don't know if she believed me or not, but that's what happened. Because I made sure it wasn't her. It wasn't. She said she kept trying to call me back, but my line was busy. So anyway, I know my son is at peace. I know. This is a day that I never, ever forget. Not ever. And I have a special box of things. His flag from the Army. And it was a very cold day when we put him in the ground. Very cold. As during the winter. Well, today, what I really do want to talk to you about is the second part of meditation. Because today, I meditated very deeply. You know, this is the thing about meditation. Once you do the exercises that I talked about in the chapter 10, and you're ready to really get into the meditation, and you know you're ready when you can look at that light without any interruption for at least a half an hour. That was what was recommended to us, and that's what I did. And today, I make myself as comfortable as I can. And I do it now. I have this room that I had built. It's my special room. I love it. It's right off of my living room, and it's very special to me. And it's so comfortable. And when children come here, I have a toy box for them so they can come in here and play in the toys. But I meditate in here. This is where I come. And when you meditate the way that I learned, you want to receive the light of your Creator. So you hold your hands open in whatever position you want to be in. If you want to sit back like this and lean back your head, that's fine. They also recommend, or somebody has recommended, that you not cross your legs or do any of that. Be as comfortable as you want to be. Personally, sometimes I'm more comfortable crossing my legs, but I believe that's from all my medical problems. But my hands are open to receive the light. And I close my eyes, but don't force it. That's the worst thing you can do. You're not going to get the light by forcing it. Got to be patient. It might take several times before you'll finally start to see the light. And when you do, it's just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And when you've done these, as long as I have, I can see the light when I close my eyes and I take a shower. And I know what those lights are because there's lots of little lights. But I'm not going to tell you. You'll think I'm nuts. So, I have a lot of wind chimes hanging up in my home. I have two. And the reason that I have them is in case I get a visitor. Any visitor. Because I've had visitors, and if you've ever read any of my blogs, I talk about it. The funny part is that just the other night, I was in my bedroom, and my one that's hanging right up here started ringing. And it doesn't ring from anything. There's no wind. There's nothing that comes through here. There's no way it can just ring on its own. The other one, it's possible, but I've never heard it. But I heard that one. So I had a visitor. At least one. No, it's wonderful when you can talk to your doctor and they believe you. My doctor does. So, I'm pretty lucky that I have a doctor like that. And he really cares about me too. He really, really does. And he thinks that I'm pretty special, and for a doctor to tell you that, that's unusual. But I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. And he tries his very best to make my body as comfortable as it can possibly be made. He really does. But anyway, so when you get to that point in meditation, I'll try to describe what my experience is, because I don't believe that anybody has the same experience, and I know this because I have a friend that knew how to meditate like this too. And she and I, the last time I saw her, she was one of my spiritual advisors, and she had moved down to Texas, and the last time I saw her, it was before my son passed away. And in fact, he was stationed at Fort Hood in Texas. So I decided to make it a double trip. A trip to visit her and a trip to visit my son. And it was wonderful. He was magnificent. He showed me the whole fort. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then my wonderful, beautiful friend and I did a lot of different things. We were right by a lake. We went down to the lake. We sat down and we talked at great length about life, about all the special things that we talk about. She was very sick, and they thought she was getting ready to pass. And then we went to her friend's condo. And it was in a wonderful place, very comfortable. And her friend wasn't there, but she told her that we could go there anytime. So we went there, and together we meditated. And it was wonderful. And when we got done, we talked about what we saw, what we heard. Because you can hear things too. In fact, there's a lot of things that can happen to you. You may be very surprised. Don't take it for granted. Do not take it for granted. In fact, what I recommend is that when you get done, write down your experience, what you see, how it felt, the whole 9 yards. Write it down. And as you do this, as you continue to do this, they'll get longer and longer. You might only be able to do this, meditate for 10 minutes the first time. And that's fine. Don't get upset. Just be happy. And then as you get further into it, it can go for an hour, hour and a half. Believe me, I know. Today, mine was headed for at least an hour and a half, but it got interrupted. The lady that delivers FedEx rang my doorbell. So that pulled me back into the world again. Because when I go into meditation, I'm not in the world anymore. I'm in another world. That I can tell you. I go into a light, an absolutely beautiful light, almost like a diamond. Some of them. Not all of them, but some of them. But anyway, I have Matt on my mind today. And I'm sorry about that. It's hard for me to talk because he is on my mind. I didn't want to cry. doesn't matter how many years. It doesn't matter. But I'll be all right. And I wish all of you a wonderful day. And I hope that you try the meditation, because it will take you places that you cannot even begin to imagine. And it will give you peace. Thank you. And I'll talk to you all soon.